place, and giving the keynote address is a two-time former South African 1,000-meter time trial champion, Bennie Dekker. He joins us now in studio. A very good morning and welcome to you, Bennie.
Thank you very much.
Bennie, you have the most amazing story, from being a young boy at 5 years old, receiving contaminated eye drops that caused loss of sight, to going to representing South Africa and winning a number of not only provincial, junior and senior titles, but also breaking a number of junior records. How did you do it all?
Well, the fact that I couldn't see to take part in a lot of bunch racing, I had to concentrate on the 1,000-meter time trial, where I was very lucky there to break, like you said, a couple of records, and even in the sprints I had to take with only 2 or 3 riders. But I was lucky for the 1,000-meter time type to break the South African record 4 times, and 4 South African titles in the 1,000-meter time trial.
You're going to be giving the keynote address at the Legends of the Pedal. You yourself are a legend of the pedal for the last 6 years. Just tell us a little bit about what this initiative actually means to you.
To be a legend of the pedal, you know, through all the hard work, that's what's real. To be a legend, that's actually the cherry on the cake. And that I can say to all legends today, for all your hard work, that the reward to become a legend is a big honor.
You're going to be sharing your story, which, as you told me on the phone yesterday, it's in 3 parts, and you've achieved so much. Of everything that you've done, what would you say is the most special to you of your cycling career?
The special for me was well, first of all, I was in a school for the blind. And when I received my letter that I was chosen as a Springbok, I couldn't read my own letter. They had to read it to me. That was, I couldn't believe it. But on the end, it sank through. And a big event for me was the first test in Switzerland, in Zurich, against the Swiss team. Standing there in front, they introduced us to the crowd, and when the national anthem starts playing, what went through your mind? It's difficult to explain that to somebody, because there's tears running from your cheeks. You get hoendervleis or chicken pox or whatever you call it, and I was shaking. And that's not your provincial that you represent, it's your country. And then I had to ride the first race. That was also the 1,000-meter time trial that I was lucky to win. And I was 4.4 of a second outside the professional record.
Bennie, and you are talking about an era, because in this day and age, we all know about Paralympic sport, and we have some fabulous partially sighted cyclists that go and regularly compete at international events. But when you were competing against fully sighted cyclists, fully abled, fully sighted cyclists.
Yes. And there I had to position myself not only on the 1,000-meter time trial, but in bunch racing. There I had to position myself to stay out of danger. I was never in the bunch, because especially when we overseas on tour, that the cycling there was much faster than the cycling in South Africa. There was, when you start, they start moving, and you must be very careful. And I always had to stay out of the danger, stay at the back, And nearer to the end of the race, I moved to the front, and then I try and stay in front. I developed a double kick. When I jumped, the bunch caught me, then I had another kick to go for a line.
So you were able to compete at the highest level despite the fact that you, I mean, just when one says partially sighted, I mean, how much could you actually see of the track?
When we got to the track, I first had to go around to get the feeling of the track and get used to it. Especially on the time trial, I could never ride on the line. I had to move a bit further, so my distance of the kilometer was a little bit more than a kilometer. But I had to get used to the track first. The tracks were so different in Europe. Every test was different. So I first had to get used to the track.
It's amazing because for the last 50 years you've been a professional piano tuner, and you've got a very successful piano tuning business since you retired from cycling. And many people perhaps put with the same, or rather faced with the same kinds of challenges that you would have had a very different outlook. As we conclude this part of our interview, what motivates you and what continues to motivate you?
What motivates me is I always looked for a challenge. I say if you come to a problem and you can overcome that problem, you enrich your life. And when I got to the school for the blind, for the first time I entered the school for the blind, coming from the outside world, I had to get used to partially blind and the blind persons there. And that was a challenge to me, to get to the top. But that was through hard work. I was lucky at Worcester, where I got my Springbok colours, and I started my piano tuning course, and I was awarded in March from the Professional Piano Tuners Association, my 50 years service as a technician. And I always say, life is what you make out of it. And if I've got a choice today to can see or to be blind, I'll take the same because I'm happy.
My word, and what an inspiring story that you're going to be sharing with the legends of the pedal on their breakfast on Saturday. Mr. Bennie Dekker, thank you very much for coming.
I can just add to this. It's a big honor for us to have on the Boxing Day Sports Alpha Bodyworks. To think that's the 118th race, the biggest race in the world. And we had a sponsor for Alpha Bodyworks. We are privileged, and we can just thank them to be a sponsor for that event.
Certainly.
And not only for that event, for the breakfast in the morning, for Legends of the Pedal. Alpha Bodyworks is the sponsor there as well. And we as cyclists can just thank them for their contribution.
Lovely stuff. Thank you so much, Mr. Bennie Dekker. And unfortunately, we're running out of time here. So let's quickly go to our Seapoint studio. That's where Jonny Koen and Nolan Hoffman are. Nolan, you're going to be going for a 6th title. Last year was very, very dramatic. Good morning to you, and how are you feeling about the upcoming race?
Good morning. Last year it offered a lot of drama. I made a slight judgment error, in the final sprint. But 10 years back, that would have probably passed as a safe maneuver, But unfortunately, the sport has changed and the rules has changed for the better. And I got disqualified to second place. But this year's event definitely it offers a lot more excitement, and I'm out there. I'm going out there to try and get the 6th title, focused and fit.
How important is this 25-mile race to a cyclist of your caliber, Nolan?
This event is really, I mean, it's a special event. It's got so much heritage, and it's one of the oldest events on the track calendar in South Africa, and I think in the world for that matter. I've started watching the Boxing Day sports, and that's actually where my interest for track cycling started. And for me, going back to Paarl each year, winning the 25 mile, it's a great honor, you know. There's big names in cycling that's won this trophy numerous times, and there's a lot of guys that try and won this trophy, but they couldn't win it, and they came short, you know. And for me to have put my name 5 times on it already, it's a big honor, and definitely this year I would like to go for the 6th time. The event has gotten a facelift now with Alpha Bodyworks coming on board, and I think the prize money is also a bit of a motivating factor for me. So ready for Saturday.
Lovely stuff, and that's something that an organizer would like to hear. Jonny, I'm going to bring you into the conversation here. I understand that you guys will be applying to the Guinness Book of World Records to say that this is the longest running cycling event. We hear what it means to cyclists in the country. Good morning to you.
Morning, Valen. It indeed is the world's longest running bike race. It's been 118 years this year, and of course wasn't interrupted by the world wars like the Tour de France and the Giro, which had to stop for the First and Second World War. So 118th time this year.
Lovely stuff. Jonny, unfortunately, we are running out of time fast, and we're actually eating into headline news now. But it's going to be a brilliant day. Where can people actually find out more about this as we just quickly conclude this interview?
Well, they could go to AdventureWorks' website, or they could certainly look at any of the electronic media and find out what's happening. But it starts at 1:30 at the Forest Stadium in Paarl on Saturday. Legends at 8 o'clock in the morning for the media, 9 for the legends. But it's a huge day. Alpha Bodyworks as Paarl Boxing Day, Sports Day this year.
It is going to be absolutely brilliant, starting with the legends and then, of course, that historic 25-mile cycle race on the track. That's how we conclude this wonderful look ahead to what will be happening in the cycling world this coming weekend. It's time now to get your headline news.